streaming live from across Pirate Nation. This is an ECU STEPP Town Hall.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to an ECU STEPP Town Hall. I am joined here by Dr. Danielle Dietz. She's our instructional specialist at the STEPP program. My name is Sam Huffman, and I oversee the STEPP program's social media and marketing. It's wonderful to have everyone here tonight. Before we begin, since this is a town hall, this is your opportunity to ask questions for Dr. Danielle Dietz. So all you have to do is just drop your questions in the comments field and we'll answer them live right here. So Dr. Dietz, before we start answering questions that were previously already submitted and people who also submit them live, if you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you to everyone joining us, either live or if you're rewatching here on the town hall. My name is Dr. Danielle Dietz, and I'm the instructional specialist for the STEPP program. I've been at ECU. This is my third year in the STEPP program, and I will talk a little bit more about my role, I think, as we answer some questions. But I teach the STEPP curriculum. I'm the co-advisor for students in the STEPP program. I also organize and oversee our tutoring program. And one of the most fun parts of my job is get to plan the community building events throughout the Cove. We call it the Cove, throughout our space as well for students in the STEPP program, as well as the STEPP staff. So again, thank you for having me, and I look forward to talking with everyone tonight.
Absolutely. So we've already, like I said, we've already had a few people that have already submitted questions to us in our online forum. So thank you for everyone who submitted questions there. If you let's go ahead and start with our first question, which is, I've heard you mention about advising. So what does that mean, and how do you help students with this?
So students in the STEP program are ECU students first. They get a major advisor. So that's someone, either a professional advisor or a faculty advisor in their academic program. If they're a deciding student, they get someone in the major exploration program as their major advisor. But I'm their co-advisor. So what that means is for the co-advising piece, I actually meet with students before they meet with their major advisor to sort of talk about what their plan is, their timeline, how many credits they want to take each semester, really have them think about themselves as a learner and what they want to get out of their academic experience so that they can be prepared when they go into those meetings with their advisors, who are more so the expert in their academic program, but I can kind of prepare them because I get to know the students really well, so they can advocate for themselves and talk about, do I want 12 credits, 15 credits? Do I want to take summer classes, study abroad, do an internship, something like that? Help them figure out what their plans are long term. And then, of course, I send reminders throughout the semester about things like drop ad, withdrawal deadlines, and making sure that the students are getting the most out of their advising experience, both with me and their major advisor.
All very important roles when it comes to advising. Another question about advising that we received is, do students receive advising help throughout their entire time at ECU and the STEP program?
Yeah, absolutely. So they do, because students in the STEP program have really structured and layered supports really their first 3 semesters in the STEP program. But then after that, some of the required STEP components kind of drop off, but the co-advising piece is still there for students. And that's one of the pieces where we see students who maybe aren't using some of the mentoring as much, maybe into their 3rd, 4th, or 5th year. They're still coming back and using the co-advising piece to make sure that they're on track, especially as they start to get closer to graduation and what that timeline looks like. So the support is absolutely there from day one. to the whole way up to if they're planning to go to graduate school or into the workforce. We help them with graduate school interviews, preparing for job interviews, internship interviews as well. So the advising piece is there regardless if you come in undecided or know what your major is, the whole way up until graduation.
Got it. Awesome. So, you mentioned about working with major advisors, and this kind of goes along with one of the questions that we submit. I'll add on a little bit to it. But as you know, STEP does not limit a student's major choice, which I think is something we really try to drill down in everything that we communicate to the public. So a lot of our students come in with a major already declared. Some also are still deciding. I, like myself, when I came in, I was still deciding. So how do you help students with major exploration?
Yeah, that's great because we do have so many students that come in deciding, or they come in kind of thinking maybe they know what they do, but then quickly they realize that might not be the major for them.
Mhm.
So some of the things that I do is I attend the meetings with their what we call a MAP advisor. So that's their professional advisor that kind of helps deciding students. So I attend those meetings with them so we can help talk about what the students' options are, maybe focus on their general education program, taking a variety of classes from all different disciplines to kind of see what they might be interested in. So being really strategic about their schedule. But I'm able to incorporate a lot of major exploration into the classroom because we do
Mhm.
projects such as taking interest inventories. We use through the Career Work Center, the Focus 2 to kind of find out about jobs that align with your interests and your values. So there's a lot of different programs or projects that we do in the classroom to kind of help students really start to think about, picking some majors, really diving deep into what the requirements of those majors are. Is it a math heavy major? Is it really writing intensive? Is there a room for me to take a minor? Things that kind of help meet a student's interests. But then again, it really goes back to that co-advising piece, because that's how I really get to know the student really well. So, like I said before, their major advisor is an expert in their content, whereas I become kind of an expert, if you'll say so, in the student, to kind of help them figure out what they might be interested in. And then we really lean into that partnership that we have with Career Services. They actually
Mhm.
come to the EDUC classes, and then also the advising core that we have at ECU. I've attended different trainings. I'm kind of looking into going to more open houses this year just to learn how I can better support, a variety of majors and students' interests. Because, like, you're absolutely right, Sam. Students come in everything from construction management to physics to neuroscience to communication. So there's absolutely no limit on what major students are interested in.
Right. And as we progress into our winter and spring months, we'll be hearing a lot from Ashley about all of the majors that ECU has to offer. And it's just so important that we stress that ECU STEP does not limit the student's major choice, and you are a fundamental element and help in that area for students of guiding them throughout that time of advising. So let's move on to one of our next questions that we did receive. Um, Questions. I've heard some rumors about a thing called class. What is this, Dr. Dietz?
Yeah, so CLASS is an acronym, and it's actually a framework that we use in the STEP program for learning and degree completion. So the C in class stands for course, curriculum, career. So we build off of this along with the actual classes that we teach, which we call the EDUC curriculum because it's in the education department. But we focus on class because we begin by having students really looking at the course profile. Um, So that's really digging deep into each individual class, what the class expectations are, unpacking the objectives of the class. Why am I taking this class? What's the structure of this class? What are the how much are tests weighted in this class? So it's a really looking at a micro level of each individual class. And then we kind of go their second year into curriculum, which is basically like your
Mhm.
degree program of study, looking at kind of this big picture of what you need to be successful in order to complete your degree. So, like, for example, if you want to become a teacher, making sure that you know that you have to take certain praxis tests and completing the Ed TPA and different licensures that you have to complete in a certain timeline. So understanding that in addition to the coursework at ECU, there's also these requirements that you have to do throughout your progression towards graduation. And then we kind of focus back in as you're getting ready to kind of wrap things up, and we look at career. So just as Ashley has, and we'll talk about the transition from high school to college. What we want to focus on is that transition from college to career. So really looking then at what you need to be successful in taking the experiences you had at ECU and applying those to the career or graduate school field. Um, and we kind of embed this in everything that we do. There's a big emphasis on understanding your learning profile. So that is what the L stands for in class. So you start by looking at your coursework, looking at
Mhm.
you as a learner, and then coming up, analyzing the two of those, and coming up with strategies for you to be successful. So if you know you're a visual learner, but it's a lecture-based class, what are some strategies, some learning strategies that you can apply to those situations in order to be successful in that class? So it might be the way that you organize notes, looking up additional images to supplement your notes outside of the lecture in class, recording the lecture, using assistive technology to kind of manipulate your notes, to highlight them, and that sort of thing. And those are the things that I actually teach in the curriculum in the classroom your first and second year in the STEP curriculum. And then the last S in class stands for success. And that's not just like, oh, I'm getting to the end and I'm checking it off. It's basically like a constant review and reflection of what works. So I'll continue to do the things that work, and then learning from experiences that maybe weren't as successful, making adjustments, and then trying it again. Because often that first, like for example, the first test in the class, you might not get the grade that you want, but you use as a learning experience to adjust how you approach studying for tests in the future. And then you can, be successful in that class,
Right.
whenever you're in that first year. And we usually kind of incorporate this in everything we do in STEP, whether it be
Mhm.
mentoring, tutoring, the co-advising piece. So our students really it's really ingrained into the program as a whole in the STEP program.
I think that was a really good, detailed answer, for the individual that asked about, what is this thing called class? Because, you may not know what class means just by that name, that phrase, I should say.
Right.
And that's part of what a town hall is. And as we have some new people on, I can see in our little tally number. I want to invite anyone that if you have questions for Dr. Dietz, this is your time to ask those questions and she'll answer them live right here. Just drop them in the comments. And even if she's answering something, we'll make sure that your question still does get answered. So again, that's all what we're here for with the town hall. It's your questions, and we have the answers with the professionals. Moving on to our next question that someone already submitted in was one person asked about EDUC courses. I know we've talked a little bit about that in the town hall so far. Can you tell us a little more about what goes on in EDUC? And then for those also for not that are familiar, EDUC is a course. Just to be clear, Dr. Dietz.
Yeah, so to kind of start with the fundamentals of it, that's just the course code, EDUC. And then students it's a 3 credit course that you take your fall and your spring of your freshman year as a student in the STEP program. Then you take 2002, your second year, and that you take in the fall of your sophomore year. And then there's 2001 that you take somewhere between your third to your final semester um, in um, in the STEP program, and that's a 1 credit class. But what we really focus on, I'll kind of emphasize EDUC 2003, what we do with our first year students, because that is really the bulk of what we do, and then we sort of kind of adjust it to course specific, or I'm sorry, curriculum specific approaches as we get into the second year, and then really the
Mhm.
emphasis on the transitioning to career when we get to 2001. But in 2003, sometimes one of the biggest thing we continue to talk about is the differences between high school and college. Because students are still adjusting, even though they've gone through the transition curriculum. We're still making those adjustments from the high school schedule, having your time structured for you, getting the opportunity to access your teachers for hours a day in the classroom setting, having time throughout the day to do your work, having a lot of graded assignments versus coming to college where you can still access your teachers, but it's either through email or office hours. You're not seeing them as frequently because it might be only a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday
Mhm.
class. So we really focus on how you can make the most out of your resources in the college setting. We do some big projects, like I mentioned already. We focus on learning styles because we really want students to walk away with a clear understanding of their learning profile. Who am I as a learner? What works for me, and how can I articulate that as my needs? Also, looking into the career piece, and then doing some job shadowing as well. So, really get students, either it be in person or virtually, to start to spend some time in the career that they think they might be interested in, after they've kind of researched what degree they would need to get in that career. But then, like I mentioned, we focus on learning strategies, and that's a big part of what we do. We start out with what we call SLANT, which is a starter strategy. It's an attention strategy of where you really sit up, you lean forward, you pay attention, you track the speaker, you take notes, you're really active in the classroom. Then we do pirates, which go Pirates, but it actually just happens to be called Pirates, even though we're the ECU Pirates. It's a test taking strategy. So that one we spend a lot of time on, and we do it strategically right before midterms begin. So you can begin to look at how to be strategic about taking tests. Of course, you want to be confident in your preparation for tests, but whenever you do get stuck, using some strategies to be able to narrow things down and eliminate answer choices. Then we do a paraphrasing strategy and then a vocab strategy. So those are the big ones that we focus on in the first year. And then we have some requirements. Students are required to have a planner. I do weekly planner checks. So we support students by not only giving them the planner, but teaching them how to use the planner, so it can be productive and worthwhile. They're required to have mentor meetings, which I think you'll be able to hear in a future town hall from a mentor. A
Mhm.
mentor would be a graduate student that meets with students in the STEP program at least once a week for an hour, and they do academic check-ins. Again, do like the time management of making sure that the planner, goal setting, really making sure that the students are set up for academic success. We have workshops that we just had one last night, to kind of focus on the future preparedness for students, and then of course career readiness and CPRs, chart how students are doing in each course.
Got it. So there is a lot to EDUC. It's a jam-packed course, but an extremely helpful course in many aspects for sure. We have just a few more questions because we have about 10 more minutes tonight for our ECU STEPP Town Hall, and I want to remind anyone that has just joined, you can drop your questions in the comments field and Dr. Dietz will answer them live right here. But we're going to go back, though, to some previously submitted questions in our form. I know you mentioned about CPRs, and this person did actually have a question about CPRs. I'm assuming it has nothing to do with your heart, right?
That's right.
um, but the person does ask, what is a CPR?
So it stands for Course Progress Record, and it's very similar to what a lot of students get in high school, which is a progress report. One of the differences that we focus on in college is that now you have to be very aware of your academic standing in each one of your classes. So we use Canvas as our LMS, and a lot of our professors and instructors use Canvas to post grades, but some don't. So that's why this document that students in the STEP program create, a course progress record, they basically list at the beginning of the semester, they go through their syllabus, they go through the Canvas course, they have conversations with their teachers to find out all of the graded assignments that will go into their grade at the beginning of the year. Then each week they turn in the CPR after reflecting on what, if any, but typically there's maybe something to update each week in their class. Maybe it's a quiz grade, a homework grade, or a test grade. They update that, and it's basically a weekly check-in to take an assessment of where you are academically in each one of your classes. That way, there's no surprises come midterms and no surprises come finals. To see how you're doing in those classes. And that way, like if you've gotten a few grades and they haven't been at the level you want them to be, then you have those conversations with your mentors or myself, and we kind of start to come up with a plan. I spend a lot of time helping students reach out to their professors, email their professors about scheduling time, going to office hours, or making sure that we kind of provide some additional tutoring in some of those areas, such as writing, math, science, psychology, to make sure that students are using their resources to be successful. So it's a great way to check in. And I think the last thing I'll just say is that it's not a requirement forever, but we found that a lot of our students do find it helpful or start to internalize the process of CPRs and do kind of weekly check-ins with their grades on Canvas to make sure that they're in good academic standing.
A very, very strategic and useful resource that starts day one for our first year students and many students all the way up until they graduate or even they go on to grad school. They continue to either use the CPR model or something similar to it. It's an amazing strategy. I'll hit real quick. We have just about 5 more minutes, Dr. Dietz, and I'm trying to narrow in one person's question about some of the partnerships. If you want to just briefly go over, they said they've seen some stuff on our website about partnerships. If you could just briefly go over some of those real fast.
Yeah, so we have a lot of fantastic partnerships across ECU. The first one of which I'll highlight is with DSS, which is the Disability Support Services office. That's actually the office on campus where students receive their accommodations. So our students in the STEP program do disclose to the DSS office so they can get accommodations such as testing accommodations. In some cases, if there's housing accommodations, if there's additional like physical accommodations that they might need across campus, that's a big office on campus that we partnership with from the moment students apply to ECU once they've been accepted into the STEP program. But then they become a really great resource for us because as we move throughout that EDUC curriculum, we have DSS come back and really help us talk and think about how students can be disclosing and thinking about how they want to have conversations about disclosing disability whenever they go into graduate school or the workplace, and what opportunities might be out there for them as a student with a disability. We also go to the Center for Communication Excellence that kind of helps our students prepare speeches, public speaking, having difficult conversations, and really what we found a great resource for helping our students prepare for job interviews. The Career Services Center, because we want to make sure everyone leaves with a really polished resume and cover letter. So partnering with the Career Services Office, and then also too they can provide support about job interviews and going to internship fairs and finding internships that match students' majors. And then I kind of mentioned this with DSS, but also our ADA coordinator is fantastic at ECU. So we've brought them in to have conversations again surrounding that about rights and responsibilities as students leave and become, a member of the workforce. As well as the ECU graduate school. So helping our students realize that if graduate school was maybe something that they might be thinking about, that could be a realistic option for them as well. So we've done a lot of great partnerships, and we welcome them all back into the STEP program and are very thankful for the commitment that they've made to the STEP program throughout the years as well.
Absolutely. We truly are thankful for so many of the wonderful partnerships, like you mentioned, disability support services, the communication center over at the School of Communication, career services, the ADA coordinator, ECU graduate school, so many partnerships. And I think that's something that makes STEP very unique compared to a lot of programs out there, is we are very tightly knit with many of the other departments across Pirate Nation. So to that, we all say thank you to our
Yes.
partners out there. So this actually puts us, this last question puts us right at the end. So if we'll actually end on, before I make our closing statements, Dr. Dietz, but want to end with, since it is a town hall, what is one word that best describes STEP?
I would say that it is comprehensive.
Comprehensive. I like that.
Yep.
There are many elements to it,
Mhm.
and it is definitely a comprehensive academic support program
That's
for sure. For sure. So that does it for tonight's town hall, our first town hall of the semester. We will be back in October with 2 live stream events. We'll have Prime Time with Ashley Cooper. Ashley Cooper is our transition specialist, and this time she'll be doing an in-depth look into our mentor and tutor services at ECU STEP. And then later in October, there will be another town hall where you will have the opportunity to ask your questions again live, but this time to a mentor and a tutor. So, many opportunities to learn more about the STEP program and another opportunity to have your questions asked live. It is truly a very, very special piece for sure. Again, I want to thank everyone who's joined us tonight across Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. We truly appreciate it. And I also want to thank Dr. Dietz for her time tonight.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. It was wonderful to be here, and I really enjoyed everyone's questions.
Absolutely. And we hope everyone stays safe this weekend as well with the upcoming tropical system as well. But for now, go Pirates.
Go Pirates.